uh, through the rest of the show without any problems today. We have Malcolm Chan and my daughter today is running sound. So big hand to them for helping us out. I want to thank everybody for being subscribers. We have 85,300 subscribers now. Thank you all for being on our channel. So I'm Robert Reese. This is my partner, Fred Shuffler. We started this channel back in October of last year, and now we're already up to 85,000. And that's only because of you guys. Uh, we appreciate everybody being online. And one thing we would love for everybody to do, that would be when you watch one of our shows, like it with a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with somebody. Also, try to watch 2 or 3 shows consecutively because that will give us some hours. We're only at 906 or 986,000 hours, and we need to get 4,000 hours in order to monetize. So from October to now, 936 or 986 hours is what we have. Other things that you can do to help us out, we have our book online, and this book has the history of air traffic control. This book is done by Stan Jorgensen and modified by Fred and myself to bring it up to date, very current. And then we also have, amazingly, Fred and myself, this wonderful t-shirt that you can buy online. And I'm looking in the thing here. So you can buy this online. Here, that's better because you don't see my face now. Not only does it have our logo on it, but it has a QR code on the sleeve so that if you wanted to just show somebody how to get to our channel, they can hit this QR code on the sleeve and they'll go right to our channel. Those are selling for, what is it, $25 a piece. You click on the link, I'll post it again today, and it'll take you right over to our shop, and you could buy either one of those. I think the booklet's going for $5. So $5, 26, it would help us out. All this is coming out of our pocket.
And if you're a member?
No, we're not, yeah. So, and we'd love it if you would share our channel and continue to go along with watching our show, sharing it. So, this, one thing I'd like to bring up is Fred has got an interesting article on the air traffic control revitalization that they're working on. So without further ado, Fred, you want to bring us up to date?
All right. I'm sure the public has seen all the drastic reports on air traffic and the progress that the government's made in trying to modify all that. The whole development of air traffic goes back to our booklet with Orville and Wilbur. And once there were 2 airplanes, they had to worry about getting too close to each other. Then there were 10 airplanes, then there were 1,000 airplanes, then there were 1,000,000 airplanes. And as this system's evolved and grown, when I taught air traffic, I would stand at the podium and our booklet was like this. And I used to tell my students, I'll show you the parts of this book that you need to know to separate airplanes. I'll show you the part of this book that you use for a reference. And then I'll show you a part of this book that should be printed on Charmin so it's useful. You need to know all these different aspects. And then you need to separate the airplanes. As the system's grown, we've got more aircraft and we've got airplanes going faster, higher. The latest,
Jack, did you read the text? You
the
don't have to
latest developments just started, and Administrator Sean Duffy is reaching out to Congress to start discussing the growth of this next generation. And they want to modify this system in the next 3 to 4 years. They're estimating 18 to 20 billion dollars. And if the government's estimating 18 to 20, you can probably move a few decimal points on that. in a periodical that I follow, Aviation Week. It's considered the Bible of aviation and space. And they're talking about the fixing of the air traffic system and the growth that they're planning. As I read these articles, I learned new things that I didn't know before. There are 21 en route traffic control centers, each one handling approximately 100,000 square miles. And if you look at a map of the country, it's like a jigsaw puzzle of pieces connecting. The aircraft flies from one piece of airspace to the next. The pilot changes his frequency to talk to the next controller. There are 21 of these facilities. In this article, they're talking about creating another 6 air traffic centers. To get those 6, you need the personnel to staff those positions and the equipment. If you're interested in investing, you might look at the companies that are bidding on creating these new systems, because they're going to grow like crazy. Do we have any questions? Have anything for you?
I don't see anything out there. Very interesting, Fred. I think that it's absolutely necessary that we modernize the air traffic system, and I hope that the people that are involved in this modernization are not family members, are not senators or congressmen. They are not investors in the program, that we actually have ambitious people that are looking to modernize with safety in mind, and the company that is picked for the air traffic control modernizations should be a company that is not the lowest bidder. The modernization itself should be handled by a company that's going to provide not just ergonomically and intuitive software, but a system that can be maintained, sustained, and modified as the years go along. Because this air traffic system, if you remember, has evolved from the Wright brothers with an aircraft that probably did just above walking speed to aircraft that are now going to be flying above supersonic, Mach 1, Mach 2, and at altitudes that have never before seen by passenger carrier aircraft. I'm sure we're going to be up there at 60, 70,000 feet. That was the realm for the SR-71s and U-2 planes. There were no airplanes up there. There are going to be a lot more as these things go on. In fact, last week we discussed about the Boeing airliner that is basically looks like a big wing. And those have been ordered by United Airlines.
American.
So it's going to be an amazing thing to see this aircraft flying. I don't know what the altitude is, I don't know what the airspeed is, but I believe they carry over 200 people on board that aircraft. So the next thing that we're going to be coming along, if there are no questions, I don't see anybody asking anything. Oh, I see you, Mark Schroer. Good afternoon, Mark. I see you just came up a little while ago. I missed you. Thanks for coming on board. Glad to have you. By the way, can you see and hear us clearly? Just we got about a 15 to 20 second lag, so I'll be looking over to see what your response is. But we have with us Jack Overfield, one of our top subscribers and also contributor to the channel. Jack, how many? I think he's got 3 shows on. One is the SR-71, one is his T-38 ride with Mark Schroer, who happens to have been the pilot of that aircraft, and one that, his JetLink incident that happened over Eagle Lake. We have an interview with Jack talking about that. So I see Jack is saying howdy to Mark, so they're doing some dialogue. But I'd like to welcome Jack Overfield on board. We have him on WhatsApp. I don't know how I'm going to get him to come up on the channel, but we'll be able to hear him. Go ahead, Jack. Tell us what you got.
Well, first of all, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can hear. Yes, Callista says you're loud and clear. 5 by 5.
Okay, well that's good. How do you get into Mark with my voice instead of this chat box? Well, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the FAA world, as we all know, especially us that are close to it, air traffic control people, pilots. And golly, did you all see about a close call at San Francisco a day or so ago?
No, I didn't see that. That was on the news?
Well, no, I saw it on another YouTube channel, Captain Steve. I don't know if you ever watched Captain Steve. He's an airline pilot.
Huh. I do watch Captain Steve. In fact, I had asked Captain Steve to come on the channel at one time. I was waiting for a response from him. It'd be great to have him.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you briefly what happened if you'd like to know.
Sure, we'd love to hear the story.
Anyway, United was taking off on runway 01 right, and another, well, SkyWest was taking off on 01 left. And so the United was cleared for takeoff on 01 right first, and a few seconds later, SkyWest was cleared for takeoff on runway 01 left. And as they cleared the departure into the runway, the United made a left turn instead of a right turn per procedure, and crossed in front of the SkyWest and they, according to Captain Steve, it was 280 feet, but the SkyWest saw him and took action to turn to the right and go around.
SkyWest probably felt them.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure.
You know what kind of airplane the United was?
No, I didn't, but Captain Steve gave a really cool analysis. Because the United, when they took off the runway 01, instead of flying heading 014, they turned left to 284, which is the departure procedure if you're departing on runway 28 right. And so he thinks that maybe they were originally programmed to go to 28 right, and then had the heading in there for 28 right, and then somehow it got kind of lost in the change to runway 01. He does. This is analysis.
You know, if that's the case, Jack, that would be the second short notice runway change that was the one of the catalysts in accidents. Like at Reagan, that circling approach to 22 was given on final short notice, and if that's the case with this San Francisco operation, short notice, the guy had the left runway in plan, and he was on the right runway. You know, you got to think when you're taking off of the right runway, is there anybody out on my left? It's kind of like signaling and making a left turn, right? So,
Right. Well, no, yeah,
I mean, only the NTSB is going to let us know what the outcome of that is, right?
well, the controller gave the pilot information that possible pilot deviation, gave him a phone number. But anyway, who knows where the confusion really what caused it. They didn't say anything. You know, I don't know if it was a controller issue or a flight crew issue.
Yeah, that will be determined by the National Transportation Safety Board, I'm sure.
Well, Captain Steve believes that there won't be an NTSB investigation. Well, maybe that's what he thinks, because there was not an accident.
Yeah, but this made national news, and it's not going to be looked into.
I imagine it's made national news, but I haven't seen it on national news because I just saw it this morning.
There are a couple of chief pilots that'll be having some serious conversations, I'm sure.
For sure, Fred.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Jack. You have anything else you want to talk about? You good?
Well, I think at some point it would be good if the FAA management had some input from people our generation and the experience that we have.
I definitely agree with you there. There are a lot of people out there that still have a large amount of passion for air safety, and they don't want to see the legacy of the FAA start going in the wrong direction.
Right.
This is something that we are all very proud of being a member of, and we would love to be able to give input to people that would listen. And I know you have personally written some letters to very high up people, congressmen, senators, I believe, and even head of the FAA, and I think maybe the Secretary of Transportation, if that's correct.
Right. Well, you know, Bob, I think you said earlier in this broadcast that we want people to make decisions that aren't I think you mentioned senators, is that correct?
Oh,
Political-
senators, congressmen, I mean, they need to provide Congress has the purse, right? So they're gonna give the money. And those people should not be in charge of the program itself. There should be ways to find out if there's any monetary gain for any of these people, because they should not have any
Political
financial hooks in this. That's just wrong. Because the selection process should not be to the lowest bidder, but it should be to the person that we believe will provide the proper tools to air traffic controllers.
Right. Now, I would like to see you and Fred and Jerry Strickland and some others get on a conference call with not Congressman, but Senator from Texas, Senator Cruz.
Cornyn? Cornyn?
Cornyn
or
and
Cruz?
Cruz, both of them.
I think it'd be good if he could hear us all and give some input, because I think he's missing the boat on an opportunity to really educate himself. Now, you've seen there was a supervisor from Newark that's been on television, right?
Yep.
And I noticed just today, before I came online here, also he was on another news channel, I guess just a day ago. And anyway, I've got some definite opinions about that. We lost radar and we lost radios at times, right? And,
Oh, yeah, we have. But, the air traffic system was able to compensate for that because people were not in conflict with one another when they were flying. And Mark, I like your remark, Mark. There should be no conflict of interest. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So, but I would have no problem setting up a Zoom meeting with any of the people that are in charge of selecting those programs, and if they want to send us some information to look over before those things are selected, be more than happy to read through them and be involved in the process, as we have all talked. And I know that when we get together, it's kind of like talking to the choir. It's an echo chamber of all the right things that we would like to see. We do need some dissenters in there, somebody that can send back a little, maybe something that we're missing, because we don't want to operate in a vacuum. We want contributors to provide what is necessary, and maybe if we're going down the wrong road, what can and cannot be provided to the controllers to make it easier and a safer and efficient air traffic system.
I think we could have a really good dialogue with Administrator Duffy. As much as I like the things he says, we know what we're talking about when we do put a headset on. And that experience level is worth its weight in gold.
Right, and Fred is so right, because when we get together in those group sessions, it's amazing what comes out and what we talk about, and how we can relate to one another because of our background. That hangar flying, I think, is essential, and it's important for us to just vet our ideas and the things that have happened to us in the past and what we see for the future of the air traffic system.
Something we haven't talked about, but I did see an article on, is the whole European system. And that's bulging at the seams. God bless, they haven't had any catastrophes. The modifications are always behind what we develop. And I don't see anybody starting to look at that to see what needs to be changed before there's some major event. Again, I did hear that there are some bills going before Congress on releasing the restrictions of the United States about supersonic flight.
And I'm going to get to that in a little bit.
I'll let you get to it.
Right. Well,
hey, can I add just something here?
sure.
Hey, Bob, the first time I saw this supervisor from Newark approach, it was on a Wall Street Journal interview, and I saw it on YouTube, and I wrote the Wall Street Journal interviewer, And I told him, I said, there were times when we lost radar and we lost radio. And it certainly is tense. But I told him the thought never crossed my mind to take
Trauma leave.
trauma leave. I mean, never thought, and as a matter of fact, there were no controllers at Houston Center that ever said, they were, hey, we just got through it and we were glad it was over. And anyway, and I think that really doesn't help Newark, since they've been having some staffing issues since they moved over to Philly. You know, if the supervisor takes leave, and then of course Secretary Duffy's talking about 20% increase for people to stay. Golly, I'm just kind of wondering if people won't stay anyway, because once they get 25 years or at any age, or 20 years at age 50, probably most of them are going to stay anyway because they want to get more than the 50% retirement.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that you're addressing when you made that initial comment is the caliber of the person that's sitting behind that scope. I mean, you're absolutely right. I don't remember anybody taking traumatic leave for an incident. I mean, they might get time off the boards because they need to be retrained, or they, check on their abilities, make sure that they've got the issue fully understood. But I don't remember anybody taking off going home because they had an OE, and at least certainly not for an extended period of time. Traumatic leave, I don't recall. So maybe I could be corrected. But if we're having those problems now, it could have been in what we failed to address in the hiring process in these later parts of the FAA year.
Well, you're right, Bob. And people have to be realistic, and that's one thing I told the Wall Street Journal reporter in my email to him, that I thought the supervisor from Newark was not being realistic, because you can't say, as this supervisor said, in one shift, I have more lives in my hands than a doctor does in a whole career as a physician. Well, I just don't accept that.
Yeah.
The people on the airplane, the flight crews, they're responsible for that airplane, and they are the ones that are the greatest stakeholders.
Yeah.
And they have to, they have air traffic control.
Bingo.
And for example, that accident in September 11th, 1991 with the Jetly. And I was appreciative of controllers that came up to me and talked to me about that. Said, hey, are you doing okay? I said, I'm fine. And I said, the people on the airplane, they were the ones that were endangered. I mean, I was on the ground. Hey, Fred.
Yeah. What?
But anyway, maybe that's just, maybe I'm not.
I had a few situations, and back to the stoic, older school of controllers, and these guys were involved in things. One I remember, he was so traumatized, and I was standing behind him, and I had my hand on his back. But while he's working these airplanes, I could feel his heart pounding through his chest. And I got him off the position afterwards. I told him to go home. I wasn't going to let him work more aircraft. And the next 2 days when he came in, I asked him how he was feeling. And I made sure that he worked quieter positions because I wanted him to take a break and decompress. We've all had those times, but we never considered not coming in.
Right, you got to get back on that horse and ride it again, or else you're going to have a fear of it. I remember my supervisor up in Chicago. He would watch my leg because I have a little bit of restless leg syndrome, and the more airplanes I got, the more I would shake my leg up and down, up and down. And he said his only fear is if I stop shaking my leg. So.
Well, we all know that adrenaline starts to go up, and then once you especially when you had a lot of traffic and a lot of weather around in the en-route environment as we had. I mean, but then once it takes you just a couple of minutes and you start, settling down, and that adrenaline, you don't feel it like you do initially. But
I remember Don Taylor, when he would get busy, he would start to get up, he would start to rise up, and he'll almost get into that radar scope, and if I was working as D side, I'd reach out over, come on, Don, you gotta sit back down again, man, you're covering up the scope.
oh, yeah.
I don't know if the agency still has it, but they had a second career program where certain controllers, if they were emotionally traumatized, psychologically impacted through the years, they could apply for a second year program where the agency would pay for them to go to college for 2 years. And I remember one guy, his name was Wayne. We always said wherever Wayne went, a cloud followed. And he was involved in 3 crashes. None his fault, but he was on he had
Jack, sounds kind of familiar.
he had the headset on when they were going down screaming. And the last time I worked with him was east of Philadelphia and up towards McGuire. And he was on the frequency as McGuire tried to give him an airplane coming out, and he was busy. I came over and plugged in on his D side and called radar on the departure, and the departure was supposed to be climbing to 8,000. And as the departure came up on his frequency, I heard him say, "You're out of what?" And I saw him write 210, 21,000 climbing. And I knew, Newark and LaGuardia departures would be going across there just at that altitude. And this guy just came up in between the wings of 2 airplanes. We got him off the position. It was the last time he ever worked the position again. He just melted. His nerves were shot. And we did research as to find out why that aircraft got up there. And it was a misunderstanding on the crew's part. But with the grace of God, they missed everybody. But Wayne wound up taking a second career program.
Look at the size of
And
it.
he was going to be a teacher. And, over the next year and a half, he would come in and visit.
Scale video source.
Of course, to a degree, he missed the job, but he was enjoying his training to be a teacher. And one day, he went home and he sat down on the couch, and he said to his wife to get their 2 children out of the house. She did that, and he proceeded to keel over and die. But air traffic paid a big price, or he paid a big price on air traffic.
That's quite a story there. But we move on. Jack, you have anything else to add?
No, I see Allie put on there in the chat box that pressure has always been part of the job. Some handled it better than others, but I never heard anyone go on trauma leave.
That is true.
And it really, if Newark definitely apparently have a staffing issue. If you take yourself out of the lineup as a supervisor, that's not helping the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. All right, I'll go back to the other picture. Well, Jack, I'm going to go ahead and sign you off here. We're going to move on with more of the show. If you want to pick us back up again on the channel, we'd love to get your feedback on what you see and how you hear us.
Okay, I'm going to continue listening in here.
All right, well, thanks a lot. Thank you for joining us, Jack Overfield. Always a pleasure to have you on, and always fun to have your comments. So,
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Fred. I appreciate the work you're doing.
all right, thank you so much.
Jack, I'm sure you look great in that T-shirt.
All right. Well, let me take you off here, and we're going to end that part of the show. All right, and let's pick up here. So, like we talked earlier, I'm going to bring up about supersonic flights over the continental United States. So, we have laws in place that do not allow supersonic flight across the United States. And the reason is because of supersonic booms. And the supersonic boom is attributed to cows giving bad milk, chickens laying bad eggs or not eggs. I mean, it's just a lot of problems for farmers. But members of Congress are advancing for the repeal of the supersonic flights over the United States. Instead, they propose a rule that would allow overland flights to exceed Mach 1, provided no supersonic boom reaches the ground. This legislation, introduced on May 14th by Senator Ted Budd, that's a Republican in Texas, and the chair of the House subcommittees. And the revision will blanket prohibition on supersonic flights imposed by the FAA in April of 1973. And an interesting note, last show that we put on Behind the Scope has Frank Whitten talking about his first few times after checking out on a sector and allowing supersonic flight by an F-4, and a few minutes later a supervisor, or actually the area manager, came down and wondered who let that F-4 go supersonic. So you might want to watch that story, it's pretty interesting. So the proposed legislation would benefit Boom Supersonic, and that's the company that has this aircraft, and I think that we have a video of this. We'll give you a short excerpt from that. Go ahead and play it with the sound. F-4 goes supersonic, so you might want to watch that story.
So let's take advantage of this and just watch XB-1 on her takeoff roll as she leaps into the air for the first ever supersonic flight of an independently developed civilian supersonic aircraft. So let's take advantage of this and just watch XB-1 on her takeoff roll as she leaps into the air for the first ever supersonic flight of an independently developed civilian supersonic aircraft. And she's airborne. Wow.
All right, well, there you have the Boom aircraft that's they're doing research on. This aircraft is supposed to be able to fly supersonic and not leave a sonic boom. That would be an amazing accomplishment. Aircraft in the United States will be able to travel much faster to get from the East Coast to the West Coast. Imagine the impact that's going to have on the air traffic control system. Boy, separation is probably going to have to increase a little bit around those airplanes. So this legislation will specifically targets those kind of operations. And while the Overture is designed to fly over the water at Mach 1.7, Boom envisions exploiting phenomena called Mach cutoff to enable overland boomless cruise at speeds up to Mach 1.3. So proponents of the legislation also cite that the emerging Chinese competition as a reason for easing the overflight prohibition. You know, we don't want to be behind anybody in establishing these kinds of inroads into future air travel.
And especially guys that aren't our friends.
As far as we know, yes.
Yeah.
So Senator Budd emphasizes the significance of this ongoing supersonic dominance between the United States and China, and he says that the stakes couldn't be any higher. All right? So that was an article, I got that information from an article that Fred had given me out of this Aviation Week in Space Technology. And Fred, how did you get these magazines?
It's a subscription you put in for. When I put in for it, they used to send somebody to interview you. I would think, I've been subscribing to it for about 60 years. And I don't know if they still send personal interviews, but they do scrutinize the people that get the subscription. because there are various things in the magazine that you're not going to see in other places. And it goes from, you know, the very start of aviation to the evolution to where we are now. And connected in aviation always has to be the progress of space. And again, space is something we're going to be involved in. The higher these aircraft go, they're going to be melding with various other developments around this Earth. Elon Musk just finished his time in government service, and he put out an email that had his plans for the next 3 to 4 years. That's pretty incredible to see. And he talks about his direction for Mars. In that, he showed how his Starship would increase in size and power. Also, his plans for arriving at Mars. And I was fascinated to see that he talked about the first Mars arrivals would be approximately 20 ships. The first landings wouldn't be humans, but robots that might look very handsome like Bob and I.
Isn't
But
that
they
that
were-
LUNC stuff that you told me about? Is that the company? Something Designs?
I think,
Is it
no,
scientific
no,
design
no.
stuff?
Those were the robots going for the moon.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But isn't that the same product that they're gonna use?
No, this.
Intuitive Machines, that's what it was.
Yes, but this is concepts from Musk and SpaceX.
Okay.
And again, the Starship is a SpaceX
Oh, yeah,
product.
right.
But
Let's
the
wrap it up.
aspect of having humanoid robots coming down the ladder and landing on Mars to give reports of what they're finding before actual humans come down. And in that report, he talked about colonization. And in our lifetime,
Definitely in your guys' lifetime.
yeah, well, I mean, we're talking 5 to 10 years, 5 to 10 years.
You know, it's funny because my stepfather, Ed, he was around
Sure.
forever. And he told me that in his lifetime, he has seen more advancement in aviation from the Wright brothers. And he's gone all the way through flying on the Clipper from the United States
The Clipper
to Singapore.
Right.
And they would make a stopover. They would go to Guam, and then they would stop in Hawaii. And when they got to Hawaii, they had to make a decision on weight versus airspeed and winds. So if the winds aloft were too heavy, some passengers had to stay behind. Fortunately, he was not one of them. He was able to fly up front and not have to be taken off the aircraft and wait for somebody else. But the aircraft that flew him was a Pan Am, and they're the ones that had the name Clipper because they were the first ones that were going across the pond, the ocean. And he always told me that he'd like to stay around as long as possible to see the continued advancement of aviation because it was amazing. He even saw the man walk on the moon, and he's flown several times before on the Concorde. So he was a Mach 1 kind of guy.
There are,
But let's wrap this up.
there are fascinating stories about the Pan Am Clippers flying over the Pacific when World War II started. And they were boxed. They couldn't come back. They couldn't go forward. And the pilots had to figure out a way to get back around. In modern day, there was Clipper 1 and Clipper 2, which would fly around the world and meet back at Kennedy. In that day, this Pan American Clipper, the pilots figured out how they could get around the Japanese and not be shot down because they had passengers on board also. And it's a fascinating story to look up on Pan American and World War II.
Yeah, that would be something. And when Jack was on, Jack and I are looking at researching this airdrop that took place right at the end of World War II. And I'll have more information on that on our next podcast. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're having an amazing time. I'd especially like to thank Jack Overfield for coming on last minute and giving us his interesting spin on what's going on in the aviation world. And I see Jack is saying Freddie the robot and Robbie the robot. Okay. Fun times, Jack. Thank everybody. Appreciate it. Continue to like, subscribe, and thumbs up us. We enjoy having you watch us. And if you have any questions, please post it. Send us email. I believe our phone numbers are posted on there. We'd love to hear from you. If there's anything that you want to see pertaining to aviation, we'll try to have that for you, and we'll try to talk about it. And once again, we are interested in the safety of this system, and we still have passion for making it safe, making it efficient, and making it the upgrade. So if anybody's out there in charge, we'd love to have you. We'd have a Zoom call with you. We'd even come out there. We got the time to come out to Washington, sit down with you, and give you our
Input.
yeah, our input, and I think you'd enjoy having us. We're kind of some fun characters. All right, bye from me, bye from Fred.
Next week.
That's all. And thank you to Callista and Malcolm, my daughter's in, and my good friend Malcolm, Sir Chan.